In today's video, I'm going to show you something I call teddy bear texture. I am using my OLO markers. These are the colors that I'll be using. And of course, I'm using a bear, the world's favorite bear, to create this very simple texture. And I'm actually going to show you two outcomes with this texture. But this is a great use of the free-flowing ink in the OLO markers and the beautiful kind of well-defined brush tip that they have. So I'm starting with a darker color in the shadows of this image where I would normally have shading. And I'm adding some solid coloring like you might expect. You can sort of use this stamp image as a guide. Where they have shading, you can add shading. But instead of just using straight lines to add this texture, I'm at the very edge of the shaded parts, I'm adding just some little dots with my marker. If you look at a teddy bear or a stuffed animal, especially a really well-loved one like my Pooh Bear was, you'll notice that there are little sort of rounded bits of fur that sort of stick together, and it's very easy to do this with the brush tip of an OLO marker. One of the things that makes this very easy to recreate as a texture is how durable this marker tip is. So you can use light pressure to create very small dots, or you can hold the marker and press it down a little bit to create larger dots. And that's going to give you sort of that variation that teddy bear fur has. So you're going to see me do that with the various shades, and I am working dark to light here. So now I've moved to my second color. So now I have my lightest color of yellow marker, and I'm flicking up from the dotted texture of the two darker markers to create kind of a solid area where I had left some white space. And then I'm also adding dotted texture with that lightest marker. But what you want to do is fill in any gaps in the darkest two sections because you don't want that white necessarily showing, or I don't, you might, in which case just leave it white. But the key here is with your lightest color, don't spend a lot of time with that marker on those sections or you'll lose that teddy bear texture because the OLOs will do what they do best, which is blend. So you want to just quickly cover those white areas without leaving the marker on that paper for a long time. So now I have even a paler yellow to do the highlights with. There isn't a huge tonal difference here because I just wanted the illusion of a little bit of light on these parts of the bear. So it's just a shade lighter than the lightest color of yellow that I had used for the teddy bear texture. Now what you want to do is come back with each shade of the marker on top of this solid area of yellow that you've created. And this is where the magic of this technique sort of lives, because when you layer alcohol markers on top of an already colored space, you can darken that ink with layer after layer after layer. So even though you're using the same color that I laid down in that smooth layer, adding another layer of that ink with these little dots adds that beautiful kind of faux fur texture that a teddy bear has. If at this point there's anything that you want to blend smooth, just use this sort of light colored yellow marker to do that at the edges of the darker areas. At this point, you have enough of the OLO marker ink saturating the paper that it's very easy to blend if you need to blend. Now I'm also using the 0 marker to add texture, so you can sort of go back and forth between the 0 marker and different colors of marker to add texture, lift out of some of the darker areas, but all with that same shape of the dot that gives you the fur detail. So I tend to sort of go back and forth between the colors, the zero, the colors, the zero, until I've added enough layers of texture that I feel like it really looks like a little teddy bear. Now you can get different fur textures with different types of strokes. This one, I'm really going for that stuffed animal look that we are all so familiar with. You can see it here with areas of dark and light that is just so adorable. It just makes you want to touch that little bear. But there are other ways to achieve fur textures that we can talk about in another video. Now I'm going to color his little honey pot. I start with a blue marker. I'm using the B4.6 here, and I'm adding shading at the edges and the bottom of the pot. I'm going to try to leave a highlight so that it looks very dimensional, but the pot itself is actually going to be red, which is a fun contrast to this bear. And when I color over the B4.6 with the red, you'll see what a rich and beautiful shadow color that is for my R1.5 marker. It's incredible how these two colors play together to create just a beautiful shadowed red. So I'm flicking out from the edges of the honey pot, but making sure to leave just a little bit of white space. That's really the magic in coloring something that's rounded. And it gives you the illusion that there's a little highlight on it, and the dark blue at the edges makes it look really round and really realistic. The red is just such a nice contrast to the bear color. So here up close, you can see the highlight. You can see the little teddy bear texture all over this sweet bear, and you can see the beautiful shadow that that blue brings. Now here's another version that I did, but I used the yellow marker to blend it quite a bit more, to blend the darker areas. So you can still see the teddy bear texture, but it's a little bit smoother blend. And they're both adorable, so it's really just personal preference which texture you like. I love them both. Who doesn't love Pooh Bear in any form or fashion? It's so cute. So figure out what textures you can create with your OLO markers and be sure and share them with us. Thanks so much for watching.